Welcome. Today I will be paraphrasing, summarizing, and sharing for the September 25th Al-Anon readings, Encouraged to Change, and a Little Time for Myself. We'll begin with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Just checking my little sticky note to make sure I read the right page. All right, September 25th. I'm going to look this over. The question is, what helps me to connect with others even when I'm in pain? Darn it. All right. This person is talking about how they lost their husband to suicide, and they said that the only thing they could do at the beginning was to repeat the Serenity Prayer over and over and over and over and over, and it helped them find solace. They said that the fact that they had been practicing their program when this happened helped them to survive the situation, and that they have learned a lot about forgiveness, guilt, and regret, and they've built a deeper relationship with their higher power. This person says they often connect with people who are also mourning the loss of a loved one. Today's reminder: the tools that we learn in Al-Anon help us to heal in even the most serious and challenging circumstances. It also mentions, it specifically mentions one of the tools, which is the fellowship, the support. The quote is from Opening Our Hearts, Transforming Our Losses. No matter what we are grieving, we are never alone in Al-Anon. All right, this is going to be tough for me. It's already tough. I didn't realize I was going to have to talk about this, but obviously it's my higher power's will that I talk about this, and so I will. I will. I will follow the will. What helps me to connect with others even when I'm in pain? All right, so I'm just going to blow my nose. All right. So the fact that it mentions suicide. So the reason why this is so emotional for me is for a couple of reasons. I feel comfortable saying this, even though it's like nobody's business because of anonymity. Um, my mother's boyfriend, who died back in April, and who I've talked about fairly extensively, especially like a few days ago. It was in any case, it's all the same day for me, by the way, because I'm doing like a video marathon, but I'm recording this on September 14th. It is now almost 11 o'clock in the morning. Um, so he did take his own life. And from what I understand, and I don't know a lot, it was very quiet and it wasn't messy. I think it involved pills, but he was alone in a hotel room. And initially that made me very sad, but not anymore, obviously. Um, I went to my acupuncturist and I said to her, because it was like after that had happened, and I said, I would not have chosen him to die that way. And she said, I love her so much. She said, not in the exact words, but she basically said, who do you think you are? I love her. Who do you think you are? You don't get to choose how people exit. Like, it is up to each person how they live their life. And he did exactly what he wanted to do. And she made a really good point. And the way that this really impacts me, because she actually made me feel better, because he, I, piecing it together, I think that he was having health issues and he was done with the health issues. He was done with it, and it was his choice. And I mean, in a way, good for him, right? Truly. And I'm going off on a little tangent, but it's probably all connected. Uh, a friend had an extra ticket to see this woman who is a medium, and the medium called me out and um, gave me some information, which was that my mother actually greeted her boyfriend in heaven, which I had already kind of figured out for myself. To me, that's real. Um, and my friend was like, wasn't that awesome that she said that? And I obviously was, it's not that I'm not grateful, but like I had already figured that out on my own. So she didn't tell me anything that I didn't already know. But the reason why this is so applicable to me is because it makes me question my own like plans. I am fine. I am not planning to do anything to myself. No, 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 no. What I am saying is that I believe very firmly, based on my own experiences, that it is up to each individual to choose when they are ready to move on to the next realm. Um, can't believe I'm talking about this. All right. I hope I'm not offending anybody. This is just my own thoughts from where I am today. They could very easily change. But based on my experience with pets, I love my pets like I love other family members. The, the idea that, okay, I'm just going to say it again. Take what you like and leave the rest. I'm only speaking from myself. I'm not saying what's right for anybody else. I'm just saying how I feel in this moment in my own life. Okay? So, I've had lots of pets in my life. When they get very sick, I'm able to take them to the vet, or the vet is able to come to my house, and we help them pass on. And seeing people that I love and care about go through illnesses and just passing on naturally makes me feel that I was going to say feel it makes me feel firmly about this, but I'm open to changing my mind. And I don't know if the experience with my mom's boyfriend is leading me to that. I don't know. But it makes me believe that people should have that right and should have that option, and that it shouldn't be like a shameful private thing. It should be something that is open and available and accepted. My partner's coming downstairs. I think he wants to talk with me. I'll be right back. All right, so my thought is that if I get to a point where that I am in that situation, that I would do similarly to what my mother's boyfriend did. But I was um, I think that the way it happened for him was shocking. He didn't tell anybody he was going to do it. He didn't ask for help, as far as I know. And like, I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it as openly as I could. So basically, what I'm saying is that that's what this passage made me think of. Made me think of my own thoughts on, it sounds so horrible because people do it in different ways and under different circumstances, and yes, 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 but that's all. I'm just saying that I would consider taking matters into my own control under certain circumstances, but I also realize that part of that is based on not kind of people pleasing, not wanting to inconvenience people into taking care of me if I couldn't care for myself, and also fear of suffering, um, which suffering is just how we look at things up here. So it actually feels kind of nice to be able to talk about it again, not to a human being who's reacting. Because usually when I get to this point of the conversation, people are like, I don't want you to do that. And it's like, no, I'm not saying I'm going to do that. I'm just saying that to me, it's an option in the right circumstances. Does that make sense? Okay, so that wasn't so That wasn't so emotional. So, what helps me to connect with others even when I'm in pain? I think that having people that I trust, that I know I can talk to the really, really hard stuff about, is really helpful. I think of my parents who are at the point in their lives where a lot of their friends have already passed away, and um, they maybe have fewer people that they feel like they can really talk with. And I feel like, me and my brother were there for our parents. We would listen to anything they have to say, but um, I think of my sponsor. My sponsor is significantly older than I am. My sponsor will probably pass away before I am. Okay, I can before I do. I feel myself drifting off into a non-productive space. So much so that I couldn't even finish my last sentence. All right. So I'm going to talk about right now today what helps me connect with others even when I'm in pain. And the truth is, these videos do, journaling does, talking with my sponsor, talking with my Al-Anon friends, and going to meetings for sure. All very helpful. That helps me connect with others. And I feel like connecting with others is I feel like it's a human basic need, truly. So wow, that was only the first part of the reading, right? Holy cow. So talkative. These are like big things that I'm talking about. I'm bringing up a lot of stuff. This is so amazingly therapeutic for me. All right, I'm going to take a minute and look this over. This is awesome. This is about turning things over to our higher will. Step 3. I'm gonna read step 3. I'm gonna read the exact. Okay, step 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And again, use whatever pronoun you want. Use whatever word you want. If you don't like Him, if you don't like God, it's fine. Whatever helps you is perfect. So, this person mentions how they're striving every day to place their entire will, their entire life in their higher power's hands and accepting the will of their higher power for themselves. And they're saying that when they listen to that inner voice, that's when their life becomes fulfilling. I just find that so inspirational and so true. So true for myself as well. Today's reminder: there are no areas of our lives that are too important to turn over to our higher power. It is the best thing for us to do to surrender to our higher power's care right now. And the quote is from Martin Luther. We never lose what we place in God's hands. That's beautiful. How reassuring is that? And that also goes along with the previous reading in A Little Time for Myself, because again, for me to get too stuck into the future and to think about like what my plan is, if this happens, la 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 la. That's not even a word, but in any case, I can find peace and serenity in just giving it to my higher power and truly knowing that things will work the way they're supposed to work. Things will happen the way they're supposed to happen. And I will be okay. Always. I will be okay always. And what's extra beautiful about that is so will my loved ones. Because everyone has their higher power. When I say loved ones, I can include everyone. And I know that sounds very naive, but I really don't want to like get into like what looks horrifying from the outside. The person who's experiencing that may not be having that same experience. I'm going to leave it at that. But those are my thoughts on step 3. I think it's beautiful. It's essential that I turn my life and my will over to the care of my higher power. We'll close out with the serenity prayer, followed by 3 mindful breaths. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Sending you love. Take care.